So today's lesson is going to be the last lesson that we do on graphing. Okay, so yesterday we learned about how to read a scatter plot, and today we're going to make a scatter plot. And you will see that making scatter plots is really very simple. It is exactly like the very first lessons that we did on graphing. That was before Christmas. That was really just graph the points. Okay, so I know this is kind of tiny, but I need to have it on there so that I can actually draw over in this space. Okay, so it says the table below shows the distance to a shopping mall and the number of trips made last month by 10 shoppers. Determine if there is a relationship between the distance and the number of trips. Okay, so in order to do that, I have to make the scatter plot. So remember, I'm always looking first for my title. Okay, so my title is Shopping Mall Trips. Okay, I want to draw my X and Y axis and label them. Okay, let me erase that part so we can see better. Remember, X is first, Y is second. Okay, so my x-axis is this first column, which is telling me distance in miles. So the first thing I need to do is I need to think about what my tick marks are going to be for that x-axis. So I'm looking, and the biggest number I see here is a 16. Well, when I'm looking over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, ooh, almost 16. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to increase that line a little bit, make sure I have 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, and then I need to label them. Kind of getting a little close there. Okay, so remember that's my 0, right? Okay, so now I do the same thing over here for my Y. So number of trips is my label. And what I have here, it looks like the biggest one is 6. So I think I'm actually going to make these tick marks maybe a little bit wider. So this would be my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. All right. So now that I've done that, I need to plot them. Okay. Which just means put them on the graph. Okay. So remember, these are my ordered pairs, right? So that means that's 3, 5. So I go over 3 and I go up 5. Okay. As you do it, cross it off. I go over 4 and up 6. I go over 16 and I go up 1. Over 8 and up 5. Over 13. Let's see, 11, 12, 13. And I'm up 2. Over 12, up 2. Over 1 and up. Oh, I made a mistake. There's an 8 there. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to start over because that's too much work. But what I can do is get my title out of the way, and I can increase this number line and make this 7, and this 8, and then put my title back over here. So sometimes you make mistakes when you're graphing, and it's okay. You don't have to start over. You just have to, fix it. Okay? So that's a 1 and 8. Okay? Then we have a 3 and 6, a 10 and 4, and a 4 and 4. Okay? Now remember, they said there's 10 shoppers, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. I have 10 dots. If I didn't have 10, then I would have missed one over here, and I would need to see which one did I miss. So when you're looking at that, do you see a trend? Okay, I do see a trend because it's going down, isn't it? Okay, so the trend is decreasing. So they're asking, determine if there is a relationship between the distance and the number of trips. Well, yes, there is, because it is decreasing. Remember, if the dots were just all over the place and I couldn't see an increase or decrease, that would mean there's not a relationship. But this does say that there's a relationship. So what that tells me is, as the distance increases, as the distance increases, okay, the number of trips goes down. The number of trips decreases. Okay, that's the relationship there in that scatter plot. All right, on this one it says for 1 through 3, use the table that shows Ben's heart rate. Let me decrease that a little bit. Oh, I see what I did on the marker. In beats per minute, after different lengths of time exercising. Okay, so Ben's heart rate would be what I would call the title here. And so my x-axis is my minutes of exercise, and my y-axis is beats per minute. Okay. Now, well, look at that. Number 1, how should Ben label the axes for a scatter plot of the data? I literally looked at that when I analyzed. Okay, so the x-axis is minutes, and the y-axis is beats per minute. Whoops. Try that again. X-axis is minutes of exercise. The y-axis is heart rate, which is being measured in beats per minute. Okay. Oh, look at this. What would be a good title for the scatter plot? Well, I already said that. Ben's heart rate. So you see how if you break down and analyze a graph and a table, the majority of the time your answers are already there. Okay, so it's always best to break it down first before you ever look at the questions. All right, number 3, explain. How can you determine the scale on each axis of the scatter plot? Remember, the scale is also the interval. Okay, so let's think about the x-axis. What's the smallest number on the x-axis? It would be 0, right? What's the biggest number? 29. Okay, so your graph needs to have at least up to 29. Okay, so that's when you look at the size of your paper that you have. If you've got a big, huge graph, maybe you do want each of the tick marks to be 1. Okay, chances are you probably don't want it to be 1. But if I'm looking at this, I can see that the majority of them are kind of close to 5s. So like if I labeled it 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, like these would mostly hit on the line or be very close. Okay, so I would say that my scale for the X would probably be 5s. Okay, I would not want to have 5s as my scale for the heart rate though, for the Ys. Okay, because I would have to have a very large piece of paper for that to happen. Okay, because the smallest number is 82 and then the biggest number is 140. So those would have definitely much bigger intervals in between them. So I'm thinking that what I might do there is maybe by 20s. Okay, so I'm thinking like if I have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, I think that would be a pretty good interval there. Okay, so I would say that this would go by 20s. And then number 4, how can a scatter plot help you see a trend in data? Well, this question we're going to talk about together in class.